welcome to Pharma MES Process Minds and TRACKTS 2016. I'm here with Marcel de Grutter, who is here today speaking on behalf of the Open SCS initiative. Welcome.
Thank you.
Could you quickly introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, my name is Marcel de Grutter. I'm Executive Director of the Open SCS, which stands for Serialization Communication Standard.
What exactly is the initiative about?
The initiative is about working together with the vendors and manufacturers in the industry to cope with serialization and the requirements of serialization and align the current standards and identify the gaps in those standards to be able to cope with the requirements of serialization. For example, we are using all EPCIS, but EPCIS is covering the events in the supply chain and not the ones in manufacturing. So what happened with that is that suppliers started to extend the standard with events that they use for manufacturing and for operating their system. But because of all the vendors did that on their own way, then you drive away from the standard. Mm-hmm. So what we are doing is identifying the gaps and then work together with the different standardization organizations to see how we can improve the standards by extending the existing standards or covering the gaps in another standard.
Okay. That sounds very challenging. So which other challenges do you see when companies implement serialization?
So the challenge is that the vendors that we work are competitors. So they need to share their knowledge, but on the basic part. So what we do is we share knowledge about the interfacing. So how the different systems should talk to each other. The challenge is because why that is needed, because that was also behind your question, I think, is that, for example, manufacturers are working with a lot of CMOs, so third-party manufacturers, and they have to exchange data between different systems from different vendors because they cannot decide what kind of system their third-party manufacturer is using because that third-party manufacturing is producing for many different companies. Mm-hmm. So all those systems need to be able to talk with each other, and today they use different languages. So what we try to do is having a common language between the different systems.
Okay. You will also talk about the initiative here or give an update about the work of the Open SCS initiative. So how has this developed?
Yeah, this is a very interesting thing. What we are doing, we have a very agile method of developing now the standard because we need to be very quick because the regulations are coming. So we don't spend now too much time anymore on talking. We had to talk a lot in the beginning to set up a professional organization because everything needs to be aligned with regulations, not only the serialization regulation, but also, for example, IP, how you share IP. That is why we are now hosted by the OPC Foundation as a formal working group, so we can use the policies for the OPC Foundation. So that saves us a lot of time because we don't have to create everything again. So that's one of the things. So therefore, it's also for the companies that are joining, they know that there is already an existing structure that is there for years. So that also allow them to share the knowledge. Mm-hmm. So, but what you say, it's very difficult because different companies have different objectives, of course. Yeah, and the trick is now to bring them together. And this is what I explained last year. That is also why we are working with independent subject matter experts. So we are hiring people from outside that are not connected to a certain vendor. Mm-hmm. So we use, for example, Charlie Gifford, who is an expert on S95 and also some other standards, and Kos, who is leading the technical effort, who is an expert in OPC UA, and then, for example, Ken Traub for the GS1 part. Because we don't want to create a standard that is used by a certain vendor or drive by a certain vendor, because that would be dangerous. Our purpose is really to have an open standard that is supported by everybody, the big ones, but also the very small ones. We have also very small members that are connecting this.
Okay, we're excited to hear more about that tomorrow at your presentation.
Yes.
So you've been here for 5 years at MES now, and
Yes.
Last year at our launch event, TRACKTS.
Yeah.
What makes you come back here every year?
I told it to many people already. I think that we.CONECT is a very professional organization, and I'm also a member of the board for the MES TRACKTS, as you know, and I like the input that's there from the people that join the events. So like the vendors, but also the manufacturers, whatever. It's really focused on what are your needs, and then of course combined, because there's always a commercial factor, so you need to please the vendors, the sponsors, etc. And that's logical. But there is a very good balance also in the presentations. So it's not only vendors that are telling how good their products are, or manufacturers that are telling I'm the best in the world. It's a really good balance in that.
Okay, great. Yeah, and as you said, you're part of the board. How do you think will the conference maybe develop also thematically? It's been now growing closer together, both conferences. Yes. Do you think that's a development that you can also see in your practical work?
Exactly that, because this is one of the aspects of the Open SCS. What I explained already many years now, also on this congress, that serialization is not something that you can put on top of your existing process. I told that last year, and I repeat that, because a lot of people are not aware how serialization is influencing their current business processes. And the current manufacturing in a lot of companies is managed, for example, by MES. So, for example, the release process of a batch, many companies use review by exception, and in that review by exception, in the future, serialization data should be included. But there is much more. Think about cold stream data. So you have cold stream processes for vaccines, for example, that when they are out of the refrigerator too long, then they are less effective or whatever. By connecting serialization and the MES processes, you can have much secure business processes as well. So another aspect is, for example, recalls. So with serialization, you can do recalls in a much faster and better way than ever before. Then another aspect is what I also see happening in a lot of countries already, is that serialization is connected to financial data. So the financial processes of a company should be aligned with the serialization process. So if you report a certain amount of serial numbers to the government, it should be aligned with what your accounting department is reporting. Otherwise you have an issue. Because how it can be that you request 1 million numbers and you have sold only 500,000 products. That means neither your quality process is not under control, or you are faking the tax system. And that's why we need also that integration. And there also the Open SCS, the communication standards will help, because today, because of all the vendors are using proprietary standards or proprietary ways how to connect, you cannot integrate the systems. But finally, all those systems needs to be talked to each other. So MES and TRACKTS will be combined. Maybe not next year, but I'm certain in 2 or 3 years from now, it will be the same. And serialization is developing itself as a GXP requirement. Like GXP was introduced in the past, this is what I see happening with serialization. You can even see it in other areas, like in food and beverage, but also in automotive. Automotive is using serialization already for a long time, so it is not new. It's new for pharma, and it's not easy for pharma to adapt because we have also complex processes. But nevertheless, the experience is already there. And that's also what we do in Open SCS. We bring also the experience from outside, from automotive and other industries in our group.
Okay, that's very exciting to see where the journey will go, and we of course hope to go that journey with you and welcome you here the next years too as part of our advisory board and attendee.
Last but not least, I want to thank we.CONECT for the support that they gave to Open SCS, like that last year and also this year again.
We're happy.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your time.